MarketStrategy.com.
Hi again, everyone. This is Chris looking at the upcoming Friday, August 29th trading session. I have the calendar open in front of you full of economic announcements. There's only a handful of them I'm really paying attention to this day, though. There are only a couple markets that most of the trading planet seems to be concerned about, so I will focus on the ones that focus on them. Looking at this, you can see that German retail sales come out right away at 0.1% anticipated month over month. This could put pressure on the Xetra DAX. It could put pressure on the euro. A little better than anticipated. I don't necessarily expect a big reaction. The market's so negative, really, it's going to take quite a bit of good news to push either one of those up at the moment. However, having said that, I look at pullbacks in the DAX as potential buying opportunities on support. It's just ran up a little bit at this point, and I feel that it's just a little bit on the parabolic side. Going forward, the next announcement that I like to look at is the CPI numbers coming out of the European Union. You can see that the year-over-year number, headline number, is supposed to be 0.3%. This will more than likely move the euro again, which looks very weak. If we get a less than anticipated number, anticipate the euro falling apart. The European stock indexes, though, will probably get a knee-jerk reaction to the downside, where we would be looking for value. That's not only the DAX, that's the CAC, the IBEX, the Amsterdam Index, MIB, a couple other markets. So really, we would anticipate European stocks to probably take a dive initially, and then perhaps find some footing based upon a speculation of ECB monetary policy being loosened due to that. That could be the last hammer in or nail in the coffin, if you will. Canadian GDP comes out. Pretty big market moving event for the Canadian dollar, but right now that US dollar, Canadian dollar looks a little bit tight. I think that the 1.10 level is going to be safe as far as resistance. I don't think we're going above there unless this turns out to be an absolute disaster. On the other hand, there's a pretty strong uptrend line underneath the dollar CAD right now, so really probably not a big market mover, although it is important in the bigger scheme of things. Core PCE price index numbers for the day come out. 0.1% anticipated. I don't look at this as a major market moving event in and of itself, but it adds to the clarity of where U.S. stock markets should be going. At this point in time, I am essentially a buy-only trader when it comes to U.S. indices. So something stronger than anticipated, we could see the S&P break out finally. We did form a hammer during the session on Thursday, so buying is very possible. Looking at Michigan consumer sentiment here, 80 and a tenth. That a lot of times will move the S&P 500 as well. I'm looking for it to affect it positively. If we do fall, I will be looking for supportive candles on shorter term charts to pick up a little bit of value. Speaking of those charts, this is the S&P 500 daily. You can see we fell, then we did something very interesting, very illuminating for me. 1990 offered enough support that we ended up forming a hammer. I think it's only a matter of time before we break out, and the sure side, of course, is a move over the 2005 level. Those U.S. numbers could make that happen. It is a Friday, though, so we may be more inclined to go sideways with an upwards bias. Using short-term binaries might be the route to go. And here's another market that seems to be a bit of a one-way trade, the euro-dollar. Poor numbers out of Europe, while they could give more credence to quantitative easing out of the ECB, which would be good for stocks in the longer term, it's going to be horrible for the euro. The euro still has to go down to the 1.3 level as far as I'm concerned, so I'm selling rallies as they go. Look to those economic announcements to perhaps give us a little bit of a rally, and then a selling opportunity, or a breakdown below the 131.50 level, which signals the next leg lower. The Xetra DAX looks like it's ready to pull back, so I'm looking at a pullback as potential value. I like the idea of buying down here closer to 9,400 euros anyways. Probably won't do much with it today, but I could see setups. Supportive candles do have me buying, as I think it would represent value. And finally, looking at the dollar CAD, like I said, 110 is still pretty resistive. I still see a lot of resistance there. There is a longer term uptrend line that goes about like that, so we're not even to that yet. I think if we get a bounce, it's just a return to consolidation. That would be based upon poor Canadian numbers. There is a possible trade there, but I think this is probably going to be one of the least clear trades of the day, but be aware that it is there. And with that, I have looked at the Friday, August 29th trading session.